Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Apologize for the snafu there this morning. The webinar, the GoToMeeting was just clocking and initializing, and was my blood pressure is somewhere near max right now, so I apologize, and I will try to settle in. But anyhow, I do wish to thank you all for joining us today for our monthly webinar series. Today, the topic is something that I think I get kind of a bit of a kick out of. I think it's kind of a topic that nobody really wishes to talk about, and that is the acknowledgement that ultimately you and me are the weakest link of a social engineering hack, or essentially the weakest link in the network security chain. So when you look at a cyber insurance application, or if you talk to an insured or a client, or if you talk to anyone about cyber insurance, data protection, or any of those topics, immediately the conversation goes to the latest encryption technology, the greatest firewall software, the best operating system to protect you from all hackers and all outside intrusions, or the hiring of the best network administrators or the teams, the people that you bring on task to protect your network from outside intrusion. But never does anyone say that, you know what, I want training about how to protect the data, or how to better guard our network, or how to be more attuned to guard our information. No one ever acknowledges the fact that the ultimate computer user is really the largest gap in the security chain. So today we're going to try and hit a little bit on this topic. I'll maybe give a little bit of background information on what social engineering is, some of the tactics that are in play, some really interesting anecdotes about some successful social engineering events, and hopefully bring a little bit more awareness to yourself, and also that you can share this awareness to your clients. So I did wish to start off with the sharing of a very recent, very personal experience. This one, this is a pretty common. It's a story that I think everybody can share. But recently, I came home from work, and my wife told me about a call that she had received during the day. She received a call on her cell phone from someone claiming to be from Google Network Service, alerting her to what this person called unusual activity from our home network, which would signify that our computers had been drawn into a botnet. These were words and terms that she was uncomfortable with and didn't know what was going on, so of course she was trusting this caller. The caller asked a couple of very easily verifiable questions. Did we have Gmail? Did we have Google Fiber? Yes, we did. Had we had any recent slowdowns or other issues related to our network service? Well, of course we did. We have how many devices drawing on our single fiber? Of course, everybody has a network interruption or a delay or a pause. These are questions that were drawing her in and drawing her into the ultimate question. And then he said, I think I can solve your problem, but what I need is to be able to log into your network in order to install the latest software and improve your security to guard you from being drawn in ever further into this botnet. So immediately, she pops down to the laptop and was about ready to share over her username and password, but ultimately we were saved as she could not remember our password. They all auto-populate and had been auto-populating from our use of Dashlane. And she's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you out here. You're going to I'll have my husband give you a call when he gets home. So I get home and she really tells me the story, and I tell her, of course, that was not a helpful network admin from Google Network Service. Rather, this was a vishing attempt where somebody was seeking to obtain her username and password to do with what they may do. She was embarrassed and a bit angry. That leads me into what I think is the most appropriate quote for this topic, and that is, the first step towards change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. So being aware that we as a computer user are the ultimate weakest link in the network security chain. Once you're aware, then you can accept this fact, and then you can hopefully then, with this acceptance, be a little bit more aware and more attuned to this potential risk. And again, all of us have uttered the phrase, "It wouldn't happen to me." I've watched a couple of these shows, like a Dateline News or something like that with the wife, and they talk about somebody who was scammed or schemed out of their life savings, and I'm sure both of us had shook our heads going, that would never happen to me. I would never be tricked over the phone by some crazy person like this. The truth is, it can and it will. So hopefully by being a little bit more aware, we'll be a little bit more protected. So a brief outline of what we're going to accomplish today. It's going to get a little bit into what social engineering is. I prefer the term human hacking. I think it kind of gives a little bit more clarity to what social engineering ultimately is. I'm going to address a couple of the common delivery methods and models of social engineering, along with a couple specific loss events that I've both picked up from going to conferences, read about, and also picked up from my fun hacker neighbor. Provide a few tips and advice that you can use yourself and also hopefully share to your clients about how to prevent from falling victim. And then also ultimately what to do if you indeed fall victim. So I included this little comic because it, I think, is both funny and remarkably appropriate for this topic. So in the ring of data security, you have in this corner firewalls, encryption, antivirus software, and so on. In this corner we have Dave. So if you're trying to penetrate the data security ring of protection, which side are you going to go after? You're going to go after the encryption, antivirus software, etc., or are you going to go after Dave? And the answer is, you know what the answer is. So what this is describing is social engineering. It's the hacking of the end user. You know, technical and system vulnerabilities, software failures, viruses, all these other things, these scientific things can be quickly identified and ultimately corrected and then steeled against. But human error and ultimately human decisions simply can never be identified and corrected. Social engineering or human hacking is the exploiting of trust, the exploiting of emotions, and even the exploiting of personal interests. So you can manipulate the target into making a mistake and releasing targeted information. So the best anecdote that I can share about what social engineering and human hacking is from a conversation I had with my hacker neighbor. So my neighbor is a cybersecurity engineer for a large public corporation. He is also a hacker. He proudly wears a gray hat, meaning he does both ethical and unethical hacking. He is brilliant and a fabulous conversationalist. And he recently was telling me about a trip that he had taken to a cybersecurity junket hosted by the Department of Defense. It was essentially a war games for 2 weeks of a variety of teams from private corporations, public corporations, defense, military teams, and state-sponsored teams, educational teams, colleges, universities. They're all pooled together into these different groups and units that were designed where they're tasked to try and obtain specific information, targeted data of the other teams. These were people that were all aware that this was a war game. This was not, something that was kind of in the background, a training that might pop up or whatnot. This was an intense 2-week war game scenario of hacking. So everybody's game was on 100%. My neighbor's team was successful in obtaining the information, not by some crackerjack software engineering, not by some crazy viral package that they have that was able to crack the firewall or do other, impressive typing type work. Rather, it was a quick research of a variety of social media pages and profiles of the opposing teams, find out vulnerabilities, whether it be wife, family, parents, children, schools, and then use that information to then target those, targeted individuals of the opposing teams to obtain specific information that they needed. So while they're in this war game, they still have, they got to make sure that kids are being picked up, make sure grandma is on for babysitting on Thursday night or whatnot. So finding out those little anecdotes, those little snippets of information via phone call, text, email, and other was the tools that they used to eventually obtain access to their opposing target's email, which they then used to of course, crack the information crack the network, and then obtain the information that they needed. So even crackerjack cybersecurity engineers and professionals fell victim to a social engineering hack in a war game style environment. I share that because I think it's just fascinating. Oh well. Social engineering is just tremendously successful. So being aware of your risk is very, very important. I found a couple interesting statistics. 52% of all successful email attacks get victims to click within an hour. So of all email phishing attempts that go out the door, 52% of them are successful. And not only are they successful, they get somebody to click within an hour. And within that field of successful clicks, a full 30% of them clicked within 10 minutes. Shows you just how quick and responsive people are to specific emails, specific targets. And it's not just like they're blasting an email saying, forward important message. They'll target specific commentary. It might be something about a credit card or whatnot. It catches your eye and drives the attention and drives the success rate in phishing. The 2017 Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report, which in my opinion is one of the benchmark studies to read for all things cybersecurity. But of the 42,068 documented security breaches that they studied, a full 43%, nearly half, 43% of all of those documented security breaches involved a social engineering attack vector. Shows you just how prevalent and how, lack of a term, useful social engineering is into conducting a hack or a data breach event into their target. It's been pretty much proven that awareness training to this risk is strictly the best defense, reducing risk by as much as 45 to 70%. So making individuals aware of this risk and making individuals aware of what data might be at risk is truly the best defense to guard yourself, your network, and your business against falling victim to human hacking. And I included this statistic just so you can understand the price at risk. And that is the 2017 cost of cybercrime study put forward by the Ponemon Institute. They had found that since 2013, the average cost of a cybercrime event has risen a full 62%. So that's pretty significant. So there are three primary methods of social engineering. And the first, I think, is the most fascinating and one of the most exciting. This brings you truly to the outside of the realm of weird closeted hacker into basically con artist, and that's ultimately what a hacker really is. And this social engineering method is called impersonation, and it's basically defined by why bother kicking down the door when you can be invited. So I went to a cybersecurity conference, and one of the speakers was a penetration tester professional, and he had a couple fun stories, and so I thought I'd share them to kind of give you an idea of how successful this can be. So the first one, he was armed with little more than a $4 Cisco polo shirt that he obtained from a thrift store, a notepad and a pen, and a few talking points that he obtained from random marketing material and some support admin forums that he went online. He was reading about current problems, issues, hiccups, software vulnerabilities, other things that were popping up. So he set up a fake LinkedIn profile for himself. He set himself up with an appointment for a quick review of the recent install of Cisco Server XYZ or whatever it was. Showed up at the front desk, was then literally personally escorted to the server room of a public corporation, where he then had physical access to the controls, to the devices. He could have implanted anything he wanted. He could have taken whatever he wanted. With little more than just a T-shirt, a polo T-shirt, and a notepad and a convincing smile. Another model that he absolutely loves doing is he'll go to Jimmy John's, he'll buy himself a sandwich, and then he'll show up with the empty sandwich bag, a red polo shirt, and he'll go on LinkedIn real quick and find the name, the title, and the contact information of somebody who works for that specific business. He'll walk up, give a charming smile, and say, Jimmy John's for delivery. They'll, of course, for Jim Bob or whatever the person's name is, they'll direct him to the floor, and off he goes, unescorted and free to roam wherever he desires within the company. To the question of how successful was he in the penetration rate for his impersonation attempts, he proudly proclaimed 100%. So social engineering, it works. Physical access to devices, servers. He could drop in compromised USB sticks. He could sit down at a user's desk. He could take pictures. He could do anything that he desires to obtain the information that he needed to basically conduct the hack or event that he needs. Another very common social engineering method is on the phone, or also known as vishing. And what's really important to note about vishing is that people will think that somebody is calling you and they're trying to give you, they're seeking your credit card number. They're seeking your account numbers. They're seeking specific financial information that is that's going to, for lack of a term, kind of tickle your spidey sense, and you're going to immediately shut down and you're going to stop sharing the data. But that's oftentimes not what the ultimate target of a vishing attempt is. So, they might be looking for a username, they might be looking for passwords, they might also be looking for something as simple as account information, verification that Jimmy John is indeed a client here, that he's been a client here for X amount of years, that he has, whatever information that they need. They're trying to piece together smaller pieces of data for a broader scheme of information. So you have to really be attuned to why is somebody calling me, why are they seeking this data, and hopefully maybe you'll be more resistant to falling victim. But a couple of the most common models of vishing is a call from IT. So you're going to be sitting at your desk and you're going to look over, your phone's going to ring and you're going to look over and it's going to say network support or desktop support, or something on your caller ID, and you're going, oh, what's going on here? So you're going to pick up the phone and this person is going to then say, hey, got a heads up from network support admin. They'll look on LinkedIn, they'll find out the specific name, drop a reference saying that we need specific access to your computer, or we need specific information, we need your logins, we need whatever it is information because of a specific compromise or a push of a patch. It's a stunningly effective vishing model, and it works. I can't give any statistic on how frequently, but it is a very successful model and something that you just simply have to always trust but verify. So when you receive that call from somebody who claims to be from IT or desktop support or network admin, ask indeed. So where are you located? If the answers aren't immediate and quick and they aren't aligning up with where you're thinking of they should be, or if you simply need to verify that you're supposed to be receiving this call, ask who approved this information, who approved why you need to contact me, and then call that person. Always just be a little bit distrusting of people when they're calling you. And a different twist on a call from IT. So they aren't simply calling you to try and get you to share or divulge specific information. They're going to be calling you for a specific action from you. And what they'll oftentimes do is they're going to say, we need you to set up a dual mode authentication, where you need to verify a specific password. You need to verify specific credentials. So that way you aren't sharing the information over the phone. You'll feel a little bit more secure about doing this. So they're going to call you with that spoofed phone number. They're going to have specific details from either Facebook or LinkedIn or other social media. They're going to obtain specific credentials from an IP ping. They're going to know that you're utilizing Microsoft Windows 10 or on XYZ network and whatnot. They're going to have specific information about you. So they're going to say, okay, in order to verify your password or to update your password, I need you to answer this. I'm going to send you a quick email that is going to be secure. You're going to input the data there that'll update your information. Well, of course, that email is going to have a compromised link that you're going to launch, and it's not going to be from Google or desktop support or Marsh support or whatever company that you're part of. It's going to be of course, hacker sourced web page that you're going to be typing in your username. You're going to be typing in your password. It's going to be starred out. You're not going to realize it. And you're going to be giving the additional credential information that's necessary for that person to obtain your login credentials or the data that you need. It's, again, remarkably successful, and it's worked to bring down some of the biggest names out there, including John Podesta of the Clinton campaign. That's almost specifically how it happened. And then I won't share this today, but there is this video here of the example of a professional vishing and how quick it works. This is a professional penetration tester. She was able to obtain banking information, banking credentials of targeted individuals in under 2 minutes with just basically a crying baby in the background and a panicked / harried sounding call. She was very successful, and it's amazing how effective it is. The more common model that everybody is aware of with social engineering is straight up phishing. That's where you receive an email that is directing you into taking specific action. These are, again, still remarkably successful. The statistic shared in earlier about how approximately 53% of all phishing emails are answered within an hour. It works. And it's not because it's saying, this is a phishing email, this is something that you got to watch out for or whatnot. They're going to be using trickery to get you to click. One of the more common is a deactivation notice. If you receive an email from Visa or MasterCard or Amex or whatever it is, If you've got a Visa or MasterCard or Amex card and you see a notice saying deactivation, we have identified questionable charges against your account, and it's going to list a couple of things. It's going to look very professional. It's going to show some sort of a charge in Russia, a charge in Spain, probably for high values or other dollar values. It's going to make you all nervous. And it's going to say, please click here to verify that these are, to launch an investigation report or whatnot. People are going to almost immediately click that. And then what are they going to do? They're going to put in their credentials for their banking credentials. They're sharing their precious jewels. They're tricked into a response. They didn't know that they had any problem. The password reset and update notice. This stuff works. You receive a notice from Yahoo. You receive a notice from Facebook. You receive a notice from any of those services that you regularly use, directing you, asking you, forcing you into updating your password. So what do? You put your username, your old password, and then your new password. So then the hacker who you shared that information to now has your old password, so they can log on to whatever network they desired. They can then change it to the new password. You're wholly unaware of the fact that you just gave your new password to target individual. Amazingly effective. An updated school event notice. Still my favorite anecdote ever. My hacker neighbor about how he had cracked the social media networking platform of our elementary school and sent fake notices to everybody about, it was just a test. But he could have very easily sent a fake notice saying, please click here for the sign-up sheet for the ice cream social or whatever it might be. It would have had an almost 100% guaranteed click rate of that direct notice. So social engineering, it works. It's called human hacking. It happens. This is one of my favorites. These are two just unbelievable examples. So harking back to the statement earlier of, oh, that would never happen to me. I'm aware of this. I'm pretty sharp. I'll catch somebody when they try and trick me into this. So the NSA, National Security Agency, they were cracked, of course, by Edward Snowden. But what a simple fact that not many people know of is that Edward Snowden got the information not because he was in there in the NSA and he downloaded all the documents or whatnot. I mean, the NSA had pretty solid and decent security set up to try and prevent this from the specific event of a rogue person from taking information. It required multiple authentication to get the specific information that he wanted. So Edward Snowden exploited his position as a computer systems admin. He obtained between 20 and 25 credentials for his fellow NSA workers in Hawaii. So these are not, insurance underwriters. These are NSA workers who are hypersensitive to cyber hacking, computer hacking, espionage, and data protection. So he was able to trick 20 to 25 NSA workers into sharing into their credentials. And he utilized those compromised credentials to authenticate his pursuit for information, obscure his actions to try and obtain information. And that was the action that he used in order to download, steal, and then distribute some of the most sensitive information in the world. It's just mind-boggling how effective that phishing was, and it should really drive home just how important and how attuned we all must be to every single time you receive a question, a call, or a request from anybody, whether it's internal, external. Always be aware, and again, trust, but verify. And I shared this one because it's just also hilarious. The CIA director, John Brennan, he was cracked by a 15-year-old. He was an activist who simply purported to be a Verizon employee to obtain user information for John Brennan. He then was able to reset the email password. He changed with that. He was able to change a variety of the security questions. He obtained access to John Brennan's email, his contact list, his iCloud storage, and even obtained direct access to his wife's iPad. This is just a 15-year-old kid, just using a little bit of a convincing phone voice and some very persistent action. So how to avoid falling victim? This is obviously it's pervasive, it's extensive, and it's targeted. So the key is truly being aware of the scam techniques. Fake tech support calls, fake inspections, unexpected deliveries, urgent requests. Those things are all. Any of those things should kind of like the term trigger your spidey sense. And the other thing really important to stress to yourself and to all your employees and to your clients is that account history and other seemingly innocuous data can form pieces of a much bigger puzzle. So going back to the anecdote about my wife getting a call from Google Account Services. So why did she receive that call? How could they have called her cell phone? Why would this information have been even obtainable? So in all likelihood, this particular person had contacted, since Google Fiber had recently been installed in our neighborhood, it would not be a stretch for a person to call a Google Fiber representative, somebody in Google Fiber, to ask and say, hey, I'm a marketing representative. I'm wanting to send out a targeted marketing campaign to our recent signees, thanking them for the business, et cetera, et cetera. I really need a quick list of name, address, and contact information of our recent signees. And you could put a little bit of stress on there. Might say, I've got to get this done by the end of the month. It's May 30th. Let's get it done. You might be thinking, what does it matter? It's just the name of so-and-so, their phone number, and the fact that they just recently signed up for Gmail. Yeah, I can share that. It's not a big deal. Don't need to verify. But that information was specifically how this guy was able to call my wife's cell phone, knowing that she was a Google Fiber account holder, and build that little bit of earlier level of trust. Whereas if he called saying it's Comcast, she would have been like, I don't even know who Comcast is. Go away. This was a targeted call that had a much higher level of success, and he darn near succeeded. So being aware of the data that you share and being sensitive to the data that you share, not just your banking information, but all information that a business deals with, really is important. And that'll help prevent your business from falling victim or being involved in such a scam. SkillBridge, as a service that we're going to be rolling out here shortly, is a very useful service that can help educate on what data is sensitive, what information is sensitive, and how to protect against the compromise of. This might sound like a no-brainer, but never provide personal information over the phone in response to a call. It sounds like a no-brainer. It really does. I mean, you'd think, like, I would never share that. No, of course not. I would never do that. But it's easy to be tricked. It's easy to be manipulated. Con men have been around since the beginning of time, and they're going to continue to exist. And being prepared to say no is going to get you that much more ready and capable of resisting such a persistent and persuasive request. Password protection, use of Dashlane or similar service. Complicated, difficult to remember passwords that you don't have to retype in, Dashlane saved us. Could save many others as well. And social media education. And you don't realize how sensitive the information that you're sharing on social media is. The fact that your kids' names are there, that your parents' names are there, what school your kids go to, what interest you're in. Are you interested into the Multiple Sclerosis Society or some sort of a passion project that you really find interesting? If you're regularly posting this information, that data can be used to really exploit you, trick you, and manipulate you into, for lack of a term, giving up the goods. So choose wisely what information is shared and educate everyone from top to bottom about how social media information can be used to manipulate, can be used to exploit and extract the data that they're seeking and targeting. So what to do if you discover a social engineering attack? The key is, of course, move quickly. So in the example going back to my wife, had she given up the username and password, and I came home from work and she said, man, I got the strangest call. Thankfully we're okay now. I gave them the logins and we're all set. Immediately, I would have called the bank. I would have called to shut down my credit card. I would have called to shut down my banking account, my debit account. I'd have asked for immediate freeze on credit. I would have asked for all that action to make sure that whatever it is that person was targeting or seeking was either minimized or eliminated in full. The next step I would have done, you'd contact police, contact the FBI, contact law enforcement agencies, especially if indeed during those 3 hours between the time that she had provided the logins and I had become aware of the events. If there had been money taken, if there had been accounts set up, without law enforcement being involved, you're probably going to be SOL. If you're a business, contact the breach coach. They literally have heard it all before. They're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to shame you for falling victim. They're not going to do anything like that. They're going to say, "Man, that sucks. This is what we can do, and these are the steps that you need to take." Contact your insurance agent. They can assist in issuing notice to applicable applicable impacted parties. If you've got a cyber policy, you're ahead of the curve. There are a lot of tools and resources available that are readily available to help mitigate and hopefully eliminate harm from falling victim. And the real key is use counsel to establish privilege. Now you've got a problem. You've got an issue. You've got possible data released. You've got somebody that maybe it entered into your system. Use counsel to establish privilege. Protect your data, and you need to now really have your hackles up, get your walls up, protect your data. Have your forensics, your notice drafting, all those other items run through counsel. So again, it's protect it, guard it, saved. Right? And you should guard this. This is valuable. And again, if you personally fall victim, contact your bank's fraud department. Set up that credit monitoring, credit freeze, all that stuff. Contact law enforcement, file a report, and also contact your homeowner's insurance agent. Oftentimes your homeowner's policy might have a little bit of a fraud protection, identity theft protection. When you call your bank's fraud department, like my credit card that we have at our bank provides some credit monitoring and credit protection services that might be able to kind of assist in some of the upfront costs, and also assist in taking some quicker action to guard and protect yourself. And then when you're talking to your clients, your businesses, your insureds, everyone about social engineering, the key is that you really want to stress, have a plan in place before the event happens. When Jason here in Kansas City answers a call, he thought he was talking to IT. Then he makes a mention to a coworker who says, "Yeah, no, I don't think that's the case at all. I think you might have messed up, Jason." Having a plan in place, so Jason, when he made that mistake, knows, oh my God, I need to call Patrick in IT, or I need to call so and so in legal. Having a defined plan in place, so immediate action be taken, as opposed to me writing my boss saying, "I'm not sure what to do. I think I just screwed up. What happens now?" And him going, "I don't know. Let me ask around." And 3 days later, we finally say, "Oh, hey, you should call Patrick in IT." Having this plan in place before the event happens and make sure it's clearly communicated to all employees is real key in minimizing damage and harm. Have your banking contact information available. Don't just call the front desk at Commerce Bank. Don't just call Chase saying, "Hey, I think I got a problem." Know who you need to call before time. Know your underwriting officer. Know whoever you need to contact, so you aren't scrambling and wasting valuable time trying to figure out who you need to call, who's probably on vacation. And lastly, have the FBI contact information available. It's not like 911. You don't dial 911 for this. You need to know what's the proper number, what's the proper contact info, and just have it ready. And then I included this link just because it's just fabulous reading. This is the Verizon Insights Data Breach Investigation Report. I think this is one of the best studies out there, and it's really worth to read, worth time. And if you ever have an insured who has questions about cyber risk, has questions about what's some good reading material on how to educate themselves, that's the link you should share. And I do also want to stress that we here at Schinner have a couple tools available. Dashlane, love it. Use it, protected us from a false Google person. SkillBridge is coming here soon, and it's going to be providing a great educational resource for all insureds to better educate their employees against potentially falling victim of a human hacking event, which truthfully is the only protection against falling victim. And then this is just a service. This isn't provided by us, but I like to include it because I think it's one of the best services out there. It's called PhishMe, which is a part of a company called Cofense. They have a great tool that allows you to set up testing phish emails, so you can test your employees' level of awareness of phishing. It's lots of fun. And it also provides us a nice support service, so you can report possible phishing emails for their safe analysis. So if you receive an email and you aren't sure, is this a phish, is this valid, is this legit, you can forward it to them. They'll open it in a safe environment, determine whether or not it is indeed a valid email or a phish. And it does two things. One, allows to better educate the user and make them a little bit more hyper aware to all emails that they open, receive, and click. But it also helps improve your own system defenses. So if you've got a known bad sender, you can block that sender now. If you've got known bad attachments or known compromised style attachments, you can improve your defenses. But again, educating the user is still the only protection. So I just want to drop it out real quick to questions. If anybody's got anything, if there's anything kind of triggered a thought, please feel free to type it in the chat. Jenny will try to answer to them. If you're sitting around later on this afternoon and have questions, thoughts, looking for some resources, please don't ever hesitate to contact any of us here over at Center on the Cyber team. We're always happy and available to, if we can't answer the question, we'll certainly look for the proper response and try and get back to you as soon as can. Yeah. With that, I do want to thank you all for your time again this afternoon. I apologize for the brief little system snafu before we got started. I hope this was helpful.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yes.
Jason, sorry, there were a couple questions that came in. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Why you
sorry,
couldn't hear
I can't see anything.
Sorry. Just one thing I wanted to clarify. You will receive an email tomorrow or early next week with a link to the recording and a copy of the presentation, so keep an eye out for that. One question that did come in, it said, with concerns about hacking, how can we protect ourselves from software we install on our computers? Example being the GoToMeeting that we are using for this webinar.
Yeah. Again, the having like a PhishMe or a similar service like that, you just always look at the sender. Always look at the source code before you click and link. Does the hover link match that what you're reading there? If you're looking at something and it just makes you kind of question whether or not that's a valid link, it's really, really valuable to send it over for checking and evaluation. So my hacker neighbor he's the one who turned me on to PhishMe. The delivery model that he used to phish his understudies, his other fellow cybersecurity engineers, is exactly a GoToMeeting. It was a webinar update, and it was a compromised link. Of course, all of his staff clicked it because again, you aren't thinking. So when you receive that email from so and so that you know, trust, or you think it's from him, you just got to look, check, and watch. And if it prompts you for a specific user details or specific information that you don't normally remember, you don't remember having to click or authenticate before, then that's a whole other time when you need to perhaps forward on to IT, forward on to PhishMe, forward on to a service. Was this a compromised link? And if they say yes, then now you've got you got an action.
Okay, that was actually the only question that came in.
Okay, cool. That works. Again, thank you all for your time. I hope it's helpful. And again, if you have any questions later, please feel free to send them to either Jillian or myself or anybody here on the team. And have a great rest of your day.